What if I told you fear isn't your enemy? That every time you feel it, you're actually holding a match. And right now, you're letting it burn your hand instead of lighting the path forward? Most people run from fear. They hide, they overthink, they freeze. But what if the thing you're avoiding is the exact fuel you need? Not metaphorically, literally. There's a way to take that shaky, sinking feeling and turn it into forward motion. And no, it's not about positive thinking. It's about rewiring how you see fear itself. Let's break it down. Fear doesn't just show up in life or death moments. It's in the small stuff. The text you're scared to send. The idea you're afraid to share. The risk you won't take, because what if it goes wrong? And here's the trap. The more you avoid it, the heavier it gets. You start living in what ifs instead of what is. But what if fear isn't a stop sign? What if it's a detour sign, pointing you toward the exact thing you need to do next? Fear is not your enemy. It is not something to be ignored, suppressed, or run from. Fear is a signal, a bright, flashing arrow, pointing directly at what you need to pay attention to. The moment you feel fear, your mind is telling you something important. It is highlighting the gap between where you are and where you could be. Think about it. When was the last time you felt fear? Was it before a big presentation? Before asking for a raise? Before telling someone how you truly feel? That fear wasn't random. It wasn't your mind playing tricks on you. It was your subconscious recognizing that this moment mattered. The things we fear the most are often the things that hold the greatest potential for growth. Most people misunderstand fear. They believe it is a warning to stop, to retreat, to play it safe. But that is not what fear is for. Fear is not a stop sign. It is a compass. It shows you the direction you need to go. The bigger the fear, the more important the path. Consider this. If you feel no fear, you are not stretching yourself. You are not pushing beyond what is comfortable. And if you are not pushing beyond comfort, you are not growing. Growth happens in the unknown, in the uncertain, in the places that make your heart race and your palms sweat. The next time fear rises in you, do not silence it. Do not dismiss it. Listen to it. Ask yourself, why does this scare me? What is at stake here? What would happen if I moved forward despite the fear? The answers to these questions will reveal what truly matters to you. Fear is not weakness. It is not failure. It is guidance. It is your mind's way of saying, pay attention. This is where you need to go. The only true failure is letting fear decide your limits. Your body is a liar. It tells you that danger is everywhere, that your racing heart means you should run, that your sweaty palms mean you should retreat, that the sinking feeling in your stomach is a sign to stop. But your body is wrong, most of the time. The physical reactions you feel, the rapid pulse, the tightness in your chest, the churning in your gut, are ancient survival mechanisms. They were designed to keep you safe from predators, from threats, from immediate physical harm. But in the modern world, these reactions are often triggered by things that will not kill you. A difficult conversation, a career risk, a creative challenge. Your body cannot tell the difference between a bear charging at you and a blank page waiting for your words. It reacts the same way to both. But you have the power to recognize the difference. You have the ability to pause and ask, is this life-threatening or is it life-changing? Most of the time the answer is clear. The things that trigger your fear response are not dangers. They are opportunity. They are moments that could redefine your life, your career, your relationships. But your body doesn't know that. It only knows how to react. This is why you must train yourself. You must learn to override the false alarms. When your heart pounds before a big meeting, when your hands shake before a performance, when your breath quickens before a bold decision, you must remind yourself, this is not danger. This is growth. The greatest moments of your life will be accompanied by fear. They will feel uncomfortable, uncertain, even terrifying. But that does not mean you are on the wrong path. It means you are on the right one. The next time your body screams at you to stop, to retreat, to play it safe, ask yourself the critical question, is this truly a threat or is it the doorway to something greater? Because if it is the latter, then the fear is not a signal to run. It is a signal to move forward. Your body may lie to you, but your future doesn't. Fear is not just an emotion. It is pure, undiluted energy. The same rush that floods your veins when you face danger is the same force that can propel you forward, if you harness it correctly. Your body does not distinguish between running from a lion and stepping onto a stage to give a speech. The adrenaline is identical. The pounding heart, the sharpened senses, the heightened awareness. It's all the same fuel. The only difference is what you do with it. Most people waste this energy. They let it paralyze them. They mistake it for weakness when it is actually strength in its most concentrated form. Think of a sprinter at the starting block. That tension, that coiled readiness. Is it fear, or is it power waiting to be unleashed? The answer depends entirely on how the sprinter chooses to see it. The moment fear strikes, you have a choice. You can let it scatter your thoughts, or you can channel it. You can let it make you hesitate, or you can let it sharpen your focus. The difference between panic and performance is not the absence of fear. It's the redirection of it. So the next time you feel that surge, before a big meeting, a difficult conversation, a leap into the unknown, pause, breathe, then ask yourself, where can I point this energy? Because fear is not the enemy of action. It is its raw material. The greatest performers, leaders and innovators do not eliminate fear. They use it. They take that trembling energy and focus it like a laser. The same rush that could make you freeze can instead make you unstoppable, if you decide to move with it rather than against it. The key is to act before the fear has time to distort itself into doubt. Energy unused turns inward and becomes anxiety. Energy directed becomes momentum. So when you feel it rising, don't resist it. Don't wait for it to fade. Seize it. Turn it into motion, because fear is not a stop sign. It's a launch pad. Fear grows in hesitation. The longer you wait, the stronger it becomes. The more you analyze, the more reasons you find to hold back. And before you know it, what was once a small step forward now feels like an impossible leap. This is why you must move before your mind has time to talk you out of it. Think of standing at the edge of a diving board. The first second, it's just water below you. The second, your brain starts whispering. By the third second, it's shouting. By the fifth, you've convinced yourself the water is too cold, the jump is too high, the risk is too great. But if you had just moved at one, you'd already be in the air. This is how fear works. It doesn't win in the moment of action. It wins in the moments before action. The pause is where it takes root. The delay is where it gains power. So the rule is simple. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Not when you feel ready. Not when the fear is gone. Now. Because action shrinks fear. Overthinking magnifies it. Every great decision, every bold leap, every defining moment in your life could have been ruined by hesitation. The job you didn't apply for because you doubted yourself. The conversation you didn't have because you rehearsed it too long. The opportunity you didn't take because you waited for the right time. There is no right time. There is only now. And the longer you wait, the more power you give to fear. So train yourself to move on instinct. When you feel the pull towards something important, whether it's speaking up, starting a project, or facing a challenge, count backward from 5. And at 1, act. Not because you're fearless, but because you refuse to let fear decide for you. Because the most dangerous thing isn't taking the leap. It's staying on the edge, letting fear convince you that you're not ready. You are ready. The moment you move is the moment you prove it. Fear is a master of exaggeration. It takes small uncertainties and magnifies them into monsters. It whispers catastrophic endings into your mind until the mere idea of taking action feels like stepping off a cliff. But here's the truth. Fear thrives in the unknown. It grows in the shadows of your imagination, where logic doesn't reach. And the only way to break its grip is to drag it into the light. Here's how you do it. Take a piece of paper. Write down, in brutal detail, the absolute worst thing that could happen if you face this fear. Not the vague unease, the concrete, catastrophic outcome your mind is secretly terrified of. Afraid to ask for a raise? Write, they'll say no. I'll feel embarrassed, and maybe they'll think less of me. Afraid to start a business? Write, it could fail. I'll lose money, and people will say I was foolish. Afraid to tell someone how you feel? Write, they might reject me, and it will hurt. Now, stare at those words. Ask yourself one question. Could I survive that? Almost always, the answer is yes. You've survived rejection before. You've survived failure before. You've survived embarrassment before. The worst-case scenario is rarely annihilation. It's discomfort. And discomfort is temporary. But now, flip the page. Write the best-case scenario. What if it goes right? That raise could change your financial future. That business could give you freedom you've never known. That conversation could lead to a deeper connection. Suddenly, the fear isn't so one-sided. You see the full spectrum, not just the risk, but the reward. And when you weigh them, the potential gain almost always outweighs the potential pain. Fear dominates when it's vague. When you leave it unexamined, it expands to fill all the space in your mind. But when you define it, when you pin it down in words, it shrinks. It becomes manageable. You realize it's not a monster, it's a shadow, and shadows disappear when you shine a light on them. So the next time fear paralyzes you, don't let it swirl in your head. Write it down. Break it apart. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Can I handle that? What's the best that could happen? Is it worth it? You'll find that most fears are paper tigers. They roar loudest when you're too afraid to look them in the eye. Fear is a solitary creature. It grows strongest when it's locked inside you, bouncing around your skull with no way out. The longer you keep it to yourself, the bigger it gets. But the moment you speak it aloud, the moment you share it with another person, something strange happens. It weakens. Ever noticed how a nightmare feels terrifying in the dark but silly in the daylight? The same thing happens with fear. When you keep it inside, it distorts. It twists into something larger than life. But when you say it out loud, when you let it hit the air, it loses its power. This is why isolation is fear's greatest ally. When you're alone with your thoughts, doubts multiply. What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if they say no? These questions echo louder in an empty room. But the moment you share them with someone you trust, the echo stops. Try it. The next time fear grips you, find one person, a friend, a mentor, someone who won't dismiss you, but won't indulge the fear either, and say it. I'm scared to take this risk because I'm afraid X will happen. Watch what happens. Sometimes they'll laugh, not at you, but at how small the fear sounds outside your head. Sometimes they'll shrug and say, so what if that happens? You'll figure it out. Sometimes they'll tell you their own fears, and you'll realize you're not alone. But every time, without fail, the fear will feel lighter, because fear feeds on secrecy. It thrives when it's your private burden, but the moment you share it, it becomes just another problem, and problems can be solved. This is why the bravest people don't keep their fears to themselves. They talk about them, they expose them, they take the monster under the bed and drag it into the living room, where everyone can see it's just a pile of old clothes. So don't let fear live rent-free in your mind. Evict it, speak it, share it. Watch how much smaller it gets when it's no longer yours alone to carry, because fear loves crowds, but only when it's the only one talking. The moment you answer back, it starts to fade. There is a powerful antidote to fear, and it is not courage. It is evidence. Every fear you have, every doubt that whispers you can't, every moment of hesitation, someone else has already faced it and conquered it. Your mind may tell you that your situation is unique, that no one could possibly understand what you're going through, that the challenge before you is impossible. But that is a lie. The truth is, there is always someone who has walked the path before you. Think about the thing that scares you right now. Is it starting a business? Someone started one with less than you have. Is it public speaking? Someone with a worse stutter than yours became a great orator. Is it changing careers late in life? Someone older than you has done it successfully. Your fear wants you to believe you're alone, but you're not. There is living proof that what you're attempting can be done. Your job is to find that proof and study it. Read the biographies of those who've done it. Watch interviews where they share their struggles. Dig into how they overcame the exact same fears you're facing right now. When you do this, something remarkable happens. Your fear loses its power, because now, instead of your mind shouting, "This is impossible," you have real evidence whispering, "They did it, so can you." This is not about blind motivation. This is about cold, hard facts. When you see that others have walked through the fire and come out stronger on the other side, your brain has no choice but to recalibrate. The fear doesn't disappear, but it becomes manageable. It transforms from "I can't" to "if they can, maybe I can too." So the next time fear tries to paralyze you, ask one simple question: who else has done this before me? Then go find their story. Let their journey become your roadmap. Their success is your permission slip. Because fear can't survive in the face of evidence. Every example you find is another brick in the bridge between doubt and action. Collect enough of them, and suddenly what seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The greatest mistake people make with fear is trying to conquer it all at once. They look at the mountain and try to leap to the summit in a single bound. When they inevitably fail, they conclude they weren't cut out for the climb. But this is not how fear is mastered. Think about how we train for anything difficult. We don't start with the heaviest weight. We don't begin with the most complex piece of music. We don't tackle the hardest problems first. We start small. We build gradually. We create a progression of challenges that stretch us without breaking us. The same principle applies to facing your fears, that terrifying public speech. Start by speaking up in small meetings first. The business you're afraid to launch. Begin with a tiny test of your idea. The difficult conversation you're avoiding. Practice with lower stakes versions first. Each small victory does two powerful things. First, it gives you concrete evidence that you can handle more than you thought. Second, it rewires your brain's fear response. With repetition, what once seemed terrifying becomes familiar. The unknown becomes known. This is how courage is built. Not through grand heroic leaps, but through a series of small intentional steps. Each time you face a scaled-down version of your fear, you're essentially teaching your nervous system, this is safe, I can handle this. The key is consistency. Just as a single workout doesn't transform your body, one small act of bravery won't rewire your fear response. But string together enough of them, send enough emails, make enough calls, have enough uncomfortable conversations, and suddenly you'll find yourself doing things that would have paralyzed you months before. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every brave person was once afraid. The difference wasn't in their innate courage, but in their willingness to start small and keep going. So don't wait until you're not afraid to begin. Begin precisely because you are afraid, but start with the smallest possible version of what scares you. Each time you do, you're not just accomplishing a task, you're building the neural pathways of courage. Because fear doesn't vanish in an instant. It retreats gradually, step by step, as you prove to yourself again and again, I can handle more than I think. There is a moment, right after you do the thing you were afraid to do, when everything changes. Your hands might still be shaking, your heart might still be pounding, but something inside you has shifted. A weight has lifted, a barrier has broken, and in its place comes a surge of energy, of clarity, of pure exhilaration that no drug, no external reward, no fleeting pleasure can match. This is the post-fear high. It is not the absence of fear that creates this feeling. It is the realization that you were stronger than the fear, that you moved forward despite it, that you did not let it decide for you. Think back to the last time you faced something that terrified you. Maybe it was a difficult conversation. Maybe it was a risk in your career. Maybe it was standing up for yourself in a way you never had before. Remember how you felt afterward? That lightness, that quiet pride, that sense of I did it, I actually did it. That feeling is not just relief, it is power. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort, avoiding anything that makes them nervous, dodging situations that trigger fear. But in doing so, they miss the secret. The greatest rewards in life lie just on the other side of fear. Not because the fear goes away, but because you grow bigger than it. Fear does not vanish. You outgrow it. Every time you face it, you stretch your capacity. You prove to yourself that discomfort is not danger, that uncertainty is not a stop sign, that the voice in your head saying you can't is a liar. This is why the most successful people, the most fulfilled people, the ones who seem to operate on a different level, are not fearless. They have simply learned to recognize fear for what it is, a signpost pointing toward growth, and they have tasted the post-fear high enough times to know it is always worth it. So the next time you stand at the edge of something that scares you, remember, the fear is not the enemy. The real tragedy would be walking away and never knowing what was on the other side, because the rush you feel afterward, that's not just adrenaline, that's the sound of your old limits breaking. Fear is not just an obstacle, it is a teacher. Every fear you face leaves behind something more valuable than relief. It leaves a lesson. Not just I survived, but now I know. Think about the first time you did anything that scared you, the first time you spoke in public, the first time you asked for what you were worth, the first time you risked rejection. At the time it might have felt like sheer survival, but looking back you realize something. You learned more in that moment than you could have from any book, any lecture, any safe and comfortable experience. Fear teaches in a way nothing else can. It shows you your edges, the places where you need to grow. It reveals your false assumptions, the stories you've been telling yourself that aren't true. It forces you to dig deeper than you thought possible, to find strength you didn't know you had. Over time, something remarkable happens. You stop seeing fear as a wall and start seeing it as a door. Not because the fear has changed, but because you have. You begin to recognize patterns. You notice that the fear before a big moment is the same fear you felt before and survived. You see that the voice in your head screaming, "This is impossible," is the same voice that has been wrong every other time. Most importantly, you start to collect proof. Not just that you can face fear, but that every time you do, you walk away with something new, a skill, an insight, a level of confidence that wasn't there before. This is how fear becomes a mentor rather than a monster. The beginner sees fear as a stop sign. The master sees it as a signpost. So the next time fear shows up, don't just ask, "How do I get past this?" Ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Because the fears you face today are not random. They are the exact curriculum you need to become the person you're meant to be. And every time you walk through one, you don't just survive, you gain a key that unlocks a door you couldn't open before, a door that leads to the next version of yourself. The biggest myth about fear, that it means you're not ready. The truth, it means you are. You wouldn't feel it if you didn't have the capacity to handle it. Fear isn't the enemy of success, it's the ingredient. Every person you admire stood where you are now. They just chose to step forward with the fear, not without it. So next time fear shows up, don't ask, "How do I get rid of this?" Ask, "What's this trying to show me?" Fear isn't here to stop you. It's here to stretch you. And the more you stretch, the stronger you get.